Am I the a-hole for following through with my ultimatum with my mom, even though she had no control over the situation? I, 32 female, have a cousin, Anna, 29 female, who I used to get along with very well. I would call her the little sister I never had but always wanted. As teens, we promised each other to be our maid-of-honors and godmothers to our children. I thought that we would be close forever, until I found out that Anna was pregnant and engaged to my ex-boyfriend James, 33 male, 5 months after we broke up. Anna and James swore up and down that while they had feelings for each other, they never acted on it until the day after he and I were officially broken up. They even offered to wait a year later to actually get married so I could have time to process, as if that was supposed to make any of this better. I was furious and refused Anna's request at being maid of honor and tossed the invitation. My mom was very understanding at first, but since there's a baby involved, she wanted me to make peace as she didn't want to cut contact with her deceased sister's only child. My mom ended up going to the ceremony, but didn't stay for the reception as she felt like it was a good compromise, but I didn't care. I was extremely hurt and didn't speak to my mom for 6 months. Not so long after the wedding, there was some complications and Anna lost a baby. I didn't wish any ill upon the child, but I can't say I felt bad about it either. It was a disappointment to many people on my maternal side for not rushing to be by Anna's side at the hospital. Over time, I re-established a relationship with my mom, and even introduced her to my then fiancé, now husband Mark, 39 male. I had no intentions in telling Anna, but I guess my mom told her, and she was upset that I chose my sister-in-law to be my maid of honor, and didn't even get an invitation. When I went to visit my maternal grandparents, I was ambushed by my mom, Anna, and some cousins, and forced to listen to a tearful apology from Anna and be begged for forgiveness. Since my family feels that the world has already punished Anna for her relationship with James, the kindest thing I could do was show some mercy. My mom orchestrated the whole thing, and I was pressured into giving her a verbal invitation. But before I left, I told mom that if Anna or James caused any problems, that not only would they be dead to me, but my mother as well. Fast forward to the reception, and Anna and James started getting into an argument because he was drunk, and passive-aggressive. It had to be shuffled out. It was awkward, but we still managed to have a nice time. Since that day, I stayed true to my word and haven't spoken to Anna, James, or my mom since. I am currently pregnant, and a week after I made a Facebook about it. My stepmom called me and said that my mom was distraught over the idea of her not having a relationship with her future grandchild. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add. Had to step away, but I read some comments and got a few messages about the same thing, so I wanted to add more info. 1. The breakup wasn't mutual. James dumped me, and a few months later I found out about him and Anna. 2. Just because Anna and James said they didn't do anything physical until after our relationship was over, doesn't mean that they didn't. So until they can provide me some proof, in my eyes James cheated on me with Anna. 3. My parents divorced when I was around 5, and I've known my stepmom since I was 9. And she married my dad when I was around 12. She's always been a loving and supportive presence in my life, and I do have a bond with her. 4. When I cut my mom out of my life the first time, it was hard, and that's why I re-established contact, and then got frustrated when she started pushing for Anna and I to have a relationship again. Her and James making a scene was the final straw for me, because I never would have invited them if my mom hadn't pushed for it. 5. I'm worried that if I re-establish a connection with my mom again, she will use it again to push Anna onto me and ruin something else. I'm just not sure having a relationship with my mom is worth it. Edited to add. Looking at the comments again, and I wanted to be clear about other things. 1. James and I were together almost 2 years before he broke up with me. 2. I didn't tell my mom that if she goes to the wedding, I would go no contact with her. I assumed she wouldn't, and then when she did, I stopped talking to her. After 6 months, I accepted that my mom would still have a relationship, but told her I never wanted to see Anna again. Now for the comments. Not the home. I'm sorry, but you're supposed to buy that they got together the day after you guys broke up, and there wasn't cheating? At least on the emotional end? Like, no way. That's a betrayal. You don't chomp at a bit until your family member breaks up with someone and hop on them immediately, without ever talking to them about it. I don't blame your mom for wanting to keep the relationship for herself necessarily, but forcing you to do so via ambush is a boundary-stomping nightmare. You aren't an a-hole for disengaging. Mom was faced with having independent relationships with her niece and daughter, or having a relationship with only her niece. She did not choose her daughter. This means she also did not choose her grandchildren. Sometimes in life you cannot eat your cake and have it too. People are not accessories to your life. I'm sad for Opie and her mom, but I also understand not wanting a relationship with someone who cannot respect you and your boundaries and values other people more than her own children. Well, in this case, I kind of feel like the mom could have had both, if she'd been willing to be reasonable and have a shred of empathy for Opie. It sounds like Opie had accepted the mom's continuing relationship with a cousin, even if not happy about it. But right when things were fragile but just starting to repair, the mom felt the need to stick her nose where it didn't belong and pressure Opie to invite the cousin Dex to her wedding. If she'd just been able to go, "Yep, while I love your cousin," I completely understand why you would not want her to be at your wedding. This is supposed to be a day about you and your fiancé, and I respect your decision. They would still have a relationship. I say not day home. Mom fooled around and found out. At the time, I felt like if she's willing to go this far and have this much faith in Anna, then she can take any of the fallout. You are not day home. Your family clearly shows no regards for the boundaries you erect to protect your mental and emotional well-being. I do think excluding your mom from your life forever is a bit extreme, but none of us know the dynamics of your relationship with her. If you want to let her back into your life, you can do so when you're ready to. You don't have to tell anyone that you're doing so before you're ready to do it. If your mom's upset by that, well, that's tough. She organized the ambush where you were pressured into listening to Anna's apology and her begging to be invited to your wedding. She made her bed by prioritizing a misguided notion of family togetherness over your health and happiness. And now she's finding out how uncomfortable it is to lie in it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex's daughter the truth about why I can't see her anymore? My ex, Kara, has a sweet, amazing daughter, Layla. I've been in Layla's life since she was 5, now 14. We've always gotten along super well and we're ridiculously close. Layla's never met her biological father, but considers me her father and calls me dad. I consider her my daughter. My ex and I plan to have more children together, though when we were at least 30 and financially stable. Despite waiting and protection, we got a false positive about 2 years ago, when we hadn't started trying yet. Then about a month after this, Kara realized she didn't want any more children. We tried to work it out, but just couldn't because I wanted more children, while Kara didn't. Despite trying to figure it out in marriage counseling, we broke up 4 months ago. However, there was a major issue. Layla. I was legally just the mother's ex-boyfriend. My lawyer told me I have no rights to see Layla if Kara disapproves, and Kara took our separation hard. She feels I'm choosing blood over her and Layla? Not it at all. It won't let me see her. I have missed them both so much. Not seeing Layla's killing me. But just giving in and going back is a bad idea, according to my therapist anyway. This is the context to the actual event. Last month, Layla showed up at my work all upset. She even skipped school to see me. She was hoping I'd come to see her and felt betrayed that I hadn't. I took her back to school and we talked. She felt abandoned that her dad, me, didn't love or want her. I ended up telling her the truth, that I love her more than anything, and she'll always be my daughter even if I can't see her. Where I may have crossed the line is explaining how I legally cannot see her anymore without Kara's approval, and that if Kara changes her mind, I'll happily involved in her life. She seemed happier when I dropped her off, but it didn't end well. A week later, Kara called me furious. Apparently, Layla had been trying to convince her to let me see her, or even take me back. I didn't ask her to, and did not say I wanted Kara back. Since I talked to her, apparently she's refused to listen to her mother, and been extremely rude and cruel. Layla's basically acting out until Kara lets me see her. Kara wants me to talk to her and end it. As I said to her, I'm happy to tell Layla to stop and be good, but I'm not going to tell her I don't want to see her. My parents think I'm being unnecessarily cruel to Layla. They say I'm being unfair by involving her in matters between me and Kara, and that for now I should listen to Kara and just end things. My friends have basically said they understand why I'm acting this way, but I shouldn't have given Layla false hope. I honestly just didn't want her to think I abandoned her or hated her. I love her more than anything. Clearly it hasn't gone well, but I just hate the idea of lying to Layla about how I feel. Because I do want to be there for her. But maybe it was just cruel and selfish, like everyone is saying. Am I the a-hole? Edit. From a few messages I've seen since waking up, I think I didn't explain our relationship clear enough. We never married because we didn't want marriage. It is a regret in retrospect, but we, especially Kara, don't really believe in the idea of marriage. Our breakup was difficult. Neither of us really wanted to break up, even though we understood that we weren't compatible anymore. It did come down to me following through and ending it, but Kara did know it was coming. I did not blame the breakup itself on Kara. We haven't told Layla the specific issue, children, but she knows that I ended it. She also is aware that it is a mutual problem, and I have never acted like it's Kara's fault we aren't together, just me not visiting. Also, I'd be happy to contribute to Layla financially as well as physically/emotionally. I have been all this time. Kara just isn't letting me. Adoption just never came up honestly. I've been her dad, and everyone knows it. We just never thought about making it legal honestly. Dumb, I know now. But I just never thought of it since our relationship was real to me. Our counseling did discuss Layla, but while Kara was upset, we originally thought about having it relatively split. Like I see her a day or two a week. I obviously would want 50-50, but she wasn't okay with that. Then when the split actually occurred, it was really hard on Kara and she apparently decided different. Not day home. Assuming you didn't paint her mother in a bad light, she asked you why you weren't seeing her. She's a 14-year-old, not a 4-year-old. She deserves to know why someone who loved her most of her life, who for all the intents and purposes was basically her dad, just disappeared like that. Kara shouldn't have been keeping that from her daughter. That's a great way to foster abandonment and self-consciousness issues. I didn't intend to, but it's possible I may have accidentally done so. She's upset Kara won't let me see her. It is clearly blaming her. While I didn't intend that, I can see how it would come from explaining the truth. I got carried away in the moment as I was trying to reassure her that I loved her. Layla has every right to blame her mother. Her mother was the one who decided not to tell her why she didn't want you to have contact with Layla. The girl is 14. She needs the truth. Not day home. Kara wants me to talk to her and end it. Kara can't have it both ways. If she doesn't want you involved in Layla's life, then she doesn't get to pull you in on disciplinary issues. Either she needs to set aside her feelings and find a way for you to be involved if that's what her daughter wants, or she needs to just deal with being the mean parent for now, until Layla moves on, or is officially old enough to build her own relationship with you. I don't think it's about discipline. Kara thinks that if I lie and say I don't want a relationship anymore and everything, Layla won't act up since there won't be the point to it. Can't convince her mother to let me see her. Still, I agree that I shouldn't have to lie to her for this. Lying to her like that would literally destroy her. Kara's trying to give her daughter a complex, but doesn't want to be the bad guy anymore, so she's putting the onus on you. She's not being fair to you or Layla. She allowed you to be Layla's father for all these years, and now that she doesn't want a relationship anymore, she wants you to sever all ties, and that's not how it works. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my brother? When I, female 28, was 20 and my brother 15 was 8, I told my stepmother that I wouldn't babysit him ever again after an incident. When his bedtime came, I told him to finish his game on his tablet and go to bed. He refused, so I took his tablet, put it on a high shelf and told him he could have it back in the morning if he went straight to bed. He'd already been misbehaving that night, and I no longer had any patience for him. Instead of going to bed, he got a chair and tried to reach his tablet from the shelf, so I hid it properly. My dad and stepmother came home a little while after. I still hadn't managed to get him to bed. He told them I'd stolen and hid his tablet. They asked me where I put it, so I told them. My stepmother got it and gave it back to him. She got pissed at me. How dare I hide his things? I told her what happened, but she told me it's not my place to punish him. So I told her if she's going to undermine my actions while I'm supposed to be in charge of him, I'm not babysitting him ever again. I have better things to do than put up with his behavior if I'm not allowed to deal with it. After that, every time they asked, I refused. Eventually they stopped asking. They recently asked if I'd stay with him overnight while they went out of town for a wedding. I reminded them of the incident, but once again told them I'm not putting up with him if I'm not allowed to do anything about his behaviors. He still acts out at 15. Because his mother doesn't know the meaning of the word discipline. They pleaded with me because they were desperate, but I still refused. Edit. Something I forgot to add. This would have been a work night for me. I have to get up at 5 a.m., but my brother stays up all night on a PlayStation and is very loud about it. I told them I'd consider it if they confiscated his PlayStation during, because I don't want him disturbing my sleep, but they said no. Now for the comments. Not stay home. The long game is especially delicious on this one. Make sure to take yourself out to celebrate. Seconded. Way to stick to your word even years later. Not stay home. You're not obligated to babysit their kid. Not to mention he's 15. And if they don't trust him to be alone for a night, they can hire a babysitter. They need someone with him overnight because at 15 he can't legally be left alone overnight. Is he mentally disabled? You can legally leave a normal-abled 15-year-old alone in all US states. Illinois, the strictest, designates 14 as the minimum age. I'm in the UK. The law is that no child under 16 can be left overnight. Not stay home. So they want you to be responsible for him, but you can't actually take action when he misbehaves? Nope. You're not obligated to babysit for anyone, even family, and especially not under these circumstances. I'm sure he would sneak out or raise hell when you were there, and it would be your fault for letting him, even though you weren't allowed to tell him no and hold him accountable. Your dad and stepmom created this situation. They can get themselves out of it. A 15-year-old should be able to stay on his own for a few hours, even overnight, if somebody checks in on him. Lots of babysitters are 15. But on some level, your parents may know their cuddled and indulged child is not on that level of maturity. You, Opie, now 28, are not required to indulge or cuddle him. Not stay home. Your parents have time to seek other arrangements. A few hours, yes, not overnight.